One guy's seen it, the other guy hasn't. First guy's gonna tell the second guy all about it while they both get drunk.
All right, welcome to yet another fantastical episode of One Guy's Seen It, the only podcast where one guy has seen the movie, the other guy has not seen the movie, and the first guy is gonna try to convince the second guy to see the movie, and if he succeeds, they'll take a break, watch the movie, come back, nerd out about the movie, and decide how many beers you need to enjoy the movie, all while getting progressively more inebriated themselves, because that is what they choose to do with their sentience, but without any further rigmarole, hoopla, ballyhoo, or bullshittery. Let's get into it. Some diddly, give me the skin diddly. Well, actually, don't give me your skin diddly. I don't know if I want to see that. Give me the skinny.
I'm going skin diddly deep on this one. Oh, God. I'm very happy because Jon Stewart is back at The Daily Show. I don't know if I sent you that clip, but... well, I think the whole episode's on YouTube right now, but he just returned to The Daily Show for the election year. And first episode was so refreshing to watch, like actual political satire that wasn't like skewed one way or the other. I was very happy.
I see that you sent it to me. Damn it. Yeah, I gotta watch this.
Yeah, it's the best. I fucking love Jon Stewart, especially like in that format. And yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, that is what America needs. That is what America needs right now. More Jon Stewart in their lives.
Yeah,
I mean, regardless of how you lean politically, don't you just love him or hate him? I do.
Yeah. He goes into the whole thing. He's like, everybody's divided on like Biden or Trump basically, and basically does like a breakdown. Is like they're both really really old men. What the fuck are we doing? Like it's great.
Yeah, that's some of the most basic questions that I think so many of us have. One of the most difficult things for me is you think about all of the incredibly smart people that live here in our country that know lots of stuff and things, and we end up with the candidates that we end up with. It doesn't check out, Sumner. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You know, it's like there are people like I had a friend in college who was he was studying to be like he's a political science major, but he's becoming one of these I don't even know what you call it, like there's a term for it, but it's like a future political scientist, like someone who studies
like trends
trends in politics and trends in democracy to predict, the way the economy is going to work in the future. And it's like, I'm reminded every time I talk to him that like there are people who literally like scientists who study the progression of politics in our country, like, and we don't have any of them running for president. It just seems sort of like a no-brainer,
Yeah.
But I digress. This is not a political podcast. We are here to talk about cinema.
Yeah, but I have heard that one good indicator for like political stuff is like through economics. Like economists like usually have a pretty good idea about who's going to win an election cycle based on how the economy's doing, which is interesting. I never really think about it that way.
I feel like we have enough data now, right? We have 300 years of attempts at democracy, like, anyway, I don't know anything. I just play video games and write music, so I don't.
I did watch his just last thing about Jon Stewart, and then we can move on, but I did watch his thing where he I think it was the show he did on Apple TV Plus for a while, like The Problem with Jon Stewart, and he did a whole thing about the stock market, and he broke down the GameStop thing, and like all the hedge funds, and the whole Robinhood thing, and like the unethical practices that were going on. Like it's probably like a 20-minute video, but it was awesome, especially after watching that Paul Dano movie about the whole thing. Like Reddit basically just fought them shorting the GameStop stock and just cost them billions of dollars, and it was awesome. It was a bunch of crooks. Anyway, yeah. Kind of got off
you gotta
on a
love
tangent,
it.
but yeah, amazing.
Shout out to Paul
Anyway,
Dano.
Yeah, I love him. I actually really love that movie. It was really good.
I liked it too. What was it? Dumb Money, I think is what it was called.
Yeah, Dumb Money. Yeah, it was a really fun movie, but it's pretty like, I don't know, it was like the whole democratization of the stock market was like big thing, and then when it actually worked out, people were really pissed off and tried to shut it down as quickly as possible. It's like, oh no, that's not what I want the market to do. And then yeah, it's really insane, like that actually happened.
Yeah, the big boys trying to step on the little boys. There was an episode of that Jon Stewart series that was about major health complications for soldiers that had been in Iraq and Afghanistan that were stationed near like the chemical dumps or like do you remember that shit?
Yeah, it was so insane because
that was
the military
incredibly
has a way of
eye-opening and sad.
Yeah, of saying like that's not service related, and then like, screwing people out of very needed medical insurance. A lot of the guys came back with like stage 4 terminal cancer, and they're like, it's not service related, even though they were at a site that was like, basically they're just ingesting all these fumes day in, day out that are killing them. Really depressing shit, but
yeah, it's pretty horrible. And we've such a rich history of taking such good care of our veterans in this country. You would just think that with such a modern war that the legislation would be so much better for that shit.
Yeah, and kudos to him, because that's like one of the main things that he is fought for. Like, he's actually gone to like congressional hearings and like fought for 9/11 survivors and paramedics and like just service members in general. So he's been a big advocate for that for like the last 20 or so years. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great guy. Love Jon Stewart.
Yeah. Yeah, well, okay. On a much lighter note, this is one guy seen it. It's my turn this week to pick the movie, and as you know, Sumner, I've been sort of on this trend of like, it's weird. I'm like addicted to forcing you to watch movies that I watched throughout my childhood that were just on, and I had no choice or couldn't find the remote, and just ended up watching them. And this is an example of one that that when I saw this movie, and both of these movies when I was a kid, there's no way that I could have possibly understood the context, because it's parody, right? And when you're a kid and you don't know what the thing is parodying, you're just watching a movie. But it was still like funny enough to entertain me, even though I didn't understand any of it. And I haven't seen, well, and so how I want to do this, it's tough, because I kind of want to leave it open to whichever one you want to do, and I'm sure you'll be able to guess both of these, and you may have seen them, and it's going to be really disappointing. Do you already know what I'm going to say without any information?
No, I have no idea.
Okay, so if I tell you that Charlie Sheen stars in both of them, do you know exactly what I'm talking about?
Is it Hot Shots?
Yes, it is Hot Shots.
Part 1 and Part 2?
Have you seen Booth?
No, I remember. Well, it's kind of a loaded question, because I've definitely seen clips from it like on YouTube before, because I know like the chicken with the crossbow, and like there's like a Rambo parody going on.
Yeah. Okay. So but have you seen either of them?
No, I can't say I've like seen the whole movie, either one of them.
Okay, so I want to give you a choice. All right. I mean, this is for the first time in the history of One Guy's Seen It, you get a choice as the guy who hasn't seen it. Do you want Charlie Sheen starring in a parody of Top Gun, or Charlie Sheen starring in a parody of Rambo?
Oh, that's tough, because I feel like both would be really good, but Top Gun that's a good one to parody. Oh,
if it helps you make your decision, they both have exactly a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, I don't know. Well, which one do you remember laughing the most in?
Well, so here's the problem. I know that I've seen both. I've seen the Rambo one, Part Doe, more than I've seen the first one. More than I've seen the Top Gun one. So I feel like the Top Gun one would be a little more fun because I don't really remember anything. I mean, I don't really remember anything from either of these movies, but I know that I've seen them both several times.
Yeah. I'm down to do the Top Gun one. I'm familiar with, more familiar with Top Gun than I am with Rambo movies, I think. So maybe I'll get more of the references.
All right, then that is our game today, Sumner. This is the first comedy that I have suggested, and
yeah, we haven't done many like straight up comedies. I don't think.
No, and it's yeah, it's I have no idea how this shit's gonna hold up, but considering how fun it's been to watch some of these shitty 90s movies and early 2000s movies, I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, there's a part of me that wishes I could wipe our memory of ever having seen Walk Hard, just so I could show it to you on this podcast.
Dude, I know. And you know what's so funny? Every time I go back and rewatch Walk Hard, I notice something I didn't notice the last time I saw it. That movie is a fucking masterpiece.
It's a classic. It just... it skewers all the right. It just skewers, like, it comes across as, like, you know, a parody of Walk the Line and Ray. Like, those are, like, the big influences. But really, it's just skewering popular music from the 50s all the way up until the 2000s.
Yeah, and it does it so well and in such a self-aware way. Like I can't think of another music parody movie that's as good. That's as wildly entertaining all the way through.
I can't even think of another one, really. I mean, one that's like that funny all the way through.
Right. I mean, you've got like Spinal Tap and like
yeah. But it's more of a spoof than it is like a parody movie.
Yeah, especially in like modern times. For whatever reason, I think music parody movies are just not a thing.
Yeah, I still think that is one of the greatest. Like Bob Dylan like parodies I've ever seen ever. Like, it's still so funny. It's
unbelievable. The song, the fucking songs are better than Bob Dylan songs.
Mailboxes twist like the birth canal of the Coliseum.
Oh, say can you see him?
Oh, say can you see him? Stuffed cabbage is the darling of the laundromat.
I mean, how do you... It's poetry.
The mouse with the overbite explained to the lumberjack. It's fucking perfect.
You know, we could just scratch this episode and do a live listen through of the soundtrack to Walk Hard.
You know, I think that's the thing that makes that movie work, is the music is actually really good. Like, all the music is perfect.
It is so good.
And one of the greatest Jack White cameos in anything I've ever seen, where he plays like the worst version of Elvis ever, but he's perfect in it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and that's the thing too. All the cameos, you know, you get obviously the Beatles cameos with
Paul Rudd and Jack Black.
I mean, it's just like everybody you would ever want to be in the movie is in the movie. And yeah, anyway, we're not talking about Walk Hard today, Sumner. I'm punishing you with more movies from my childhood.
We're lucky we still let you play drums.
You're lucky we let you play drums.
There's no limit to what we can admit. Okay, I'm sorry. We're done.
Yeah, you have to stop. This cannot turn into a quote-along. Okay, and I don't even know. There's not even any. Man, so the top cast, you got Charlie Sheen, Valeria Golino, Gary Elwes, Lloyd Bridges, John Cryer, who I've seen in some stuff.
Okay, that's interesting that John Cryer's in it, because they were on 2.5 Men together for a really long time.
Yes, sir.
Charlie Sheen and him. Yeah. Which I watched a lot as a kid, and I still kind of have a soft spot. I know it's terrible, but I still have a soft spot for 2.5 Men, kind of.
No, 2.5 Men's great. Oh, you got Kevin Dunn in this, who I've seen in some stuff.
Kevin Dunn, I don't know if...
He's got one of those faces. You've seen him in stuff.
But Carrie Eloise is Princess Bride, Wesley, right?
Carrie Eloise?
one of the guys, Carrie Elwes, I think is what you said.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Is it Eloise? Carrie Eloise?
That's the way I've always pronounced. I don't know if that's correct way of saying it, but
yeah, I have no idea.
But he's in a good spoof movie, the Robin Hood Men in Tights, also, I think.
Yeah, crazy. Now here's one of the biggest pieces of trivia that I had to share beforehand. This movie was chosen for the UK's 1991 Royal Film Performance, attended by Queen Elizabeth II.
Oh. What?
I know.
For Hot Shots?
I know. It's unbelievable.
Okay. It's a mark of quality. I guess this is the time of like Airplane and stuff being a big thing. Well, I mean, maybe that was like 10 years before. But still, I mean, I guess that was like when the popularity of, spoof movies was still big, or parody movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a big like Saddam Hussein, without really spoiling anything. There's like a Saddam Hussein spoof character, and this is kind of cool that some of the previews for this movie claimed that he was playing himself in the movie, which I think is a funny choice for the for the promo. It's like it's pretty ballsy.
Yeah, it's like the controversy driving the marketing a bit. They're ahead of their time. Because that's what everybody does now. It's like controversy is like doing the marketing for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited because, again, I think we're probably getting toward the end of my weird childhood movies that were on all the time, and we can finally start moving towards some movies that will be better for the health of our podcast and not for our own mental health.
Yeah, I've been trying to think of stuff that I tend to lean towards, like, oh, these are these obscure movies that you need to see, but I'm like, also like, I want people to watch it also, so.
Yeah, man, but also we gotta stay true to our craft, so this is an important part of that.
Yeah.
And for me, that craft is showing
artists.
you absolutely terrible movies. Yes, we are artists.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all the trivia I want to tell you before you watch this. Let's fucking do this. Are you ready? Is your body ready for Hot Shots? For Charlie Sheen in his prime?
I'm ready for Hot Shots. Who else was in this? It was Charlie Sheen and John Cryer and Carrie Elwes.
Yeah, we got Carrie Elwes, Valeria Galino. I don't know what else she's been. She's the main chick.
Okay.
She was in Rain Man. She's Susanna in Rain Man.
Yeah. She's a French lady. I remember her.
She is a French lady, yes. Yeah,
Tom
so
Cruise.
she's in this.
Hey, that's a Tom Cruise movie, Rain Man.
There you go.
Little connection there.
We could just watch Rain Man.
Yeah. Wait, it's like 67 toothpicks on the ground. 20 minutes to Wapner.
Wapner. Oh, hey, Ryan Stiles is in this. I forgot. And I think he was in 2.5 Men, too.
Oh, yeah. I fucking love Ryan Stiles. I've watched so much Whose Line Is It Anyway? Whose Line Is It Anyway? As a kid.
Yeah, they rebooted it recently. Kaylee and I have been watching some of the newer ones. It's not as good as the classics, but it's still fun to watch.
I kind of like the host lady because she's been in like a million things. God, what was she? She was like on Archer and like she was on Friends.
Oh, dude, I've never seen
2.
Archer, but I hear Archer is awesome.
It's great for H. John Benjamin. Like the first, 2 seasons are more like a James Bond, like Mission Impossible parody, and then it kind of goes off and does its own thing. But I'll watch anything with H. John Benjamin. He's one of my favorite like voice actors, even though he's got one voice, which makes me love him so much more.
Yeah, he's the bomb. I keep hearing his voice in commercials, and hey, there he is. He gets a lot of work. He gets a lot of voiceover work, and yeah, it's just good for him. It's cool.
Yeah, one of my favorite shows he did, which I think it was the creator of Bob's Burgers in the early 2000s, called Home Movies.
Oh, I forgot he was in Home Movies. What a trip.
Yeah, he's like the soccer coach, like the alcoholic soccer coach that hangs out with this kid that, shoots movies on the weekends. and all his life advice is the best.
Fuck yeah, dude. Well, anyways, this is we're gonna go watch the movie now. This is the part of the show where Larry comes out and sings a silly song on Silly Songs with Larry.
It's like a Monty Python interlude.
Dude, did you never watch VeggieTales growing up?
Oh,
I forgot
no.
you didn't grow up in church like I did.
Yeah,
Oh man,
I mean,
do you know
I
what
know kids that-
VeggieTales is?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I knew kids that watched it, but yeah, I never. I don't know why I didn't. Like, I was of the age range, but yeah, it just somehow just never came up. I know it was like
Yeah.
but it was actually pretty funny from what I remember.
Yeah,
like,
no, it was
actually
a good series. Well, so you know, in the two main characters, you've got a tomato and a cucumber, and Larry the cucumber is very silly. And every episode of VeggieTales, he gets, there's a segment called Silly Songs with Larry, and there's like a British narrator, and she's like, and now it's time for Silly Songs with Larry, the part of the show where Larry comes out and sings a silly song. And then Larry will come out and sing a silly song. I'll have to send you some of my favorite Silly Songs with Larry, because there's some true bangers in there. Like, Where Is My Hairbrush? Oh, man. Where is my hairbrush? Oh, where is my hairbrush? Oh, where is my hairbrush?
Is my hairbrush?
Yeah, there's some good ones, dude.
Yeah, I've been watching so much Monty Python. When you said that, I was just like, that just sounds like a Monty Python sketch.
Oh yeah, dude, there's definitely notes of Python in there. But anyway, okay, enough rigmarole, hoopla, and ballyhoo. Let's go watch this movie.
I love that you start the podcast with no rigmarole, hoopla, or ballyhoo, and that's all we do for the first half of the podcast.
Yes, it's my foolhardy attempt at irony. Although it was,
If you don't,
it's
don't
actually
understand
true
by this
irony
point-
because it was never intentional for it to be that way. So it is true irony. It's unintentional irony and irony.
no, it was always intentional. That's the
Right.
joke.
That's the buzz.
We're not just bad at podcasting. This has always been the joke.
Yeah, we look for the one listener who isn't getting off, and we make sure that they don't get off for 15 minutes at least.
It's the only way you truly appreciate the meat, the crux.
Like you said, we are artists. This is our art form.
Artistes.
Anyway, okay, we'll be back. We'll be back with One Guy's Seen It. Remember, when you hear that trumpet, spoilers are on the way for Hot Shots. We'll be back. And boom, we are back with One Guy's Seen It. We just watched Hot Shots, Sumner. How you feeling about it?
I'm feeling pretty good. I thought it was pretty funny. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yay! Yeah, dude. I feel like it's this way with every spoof that I've ever seen. Is like there are always stretches of greatness. Like there are stretches of genius. And I started thinking about like how difficult it is. Like, I've always felt like certain spoofs, especially both the Hot Shots movies, but even like Airplane, like there are certain levels of spoof where like I almost feel like they would do better as a show or as a series, like of like 20-minute episodes, because there's just the whole thing with a spoof movie is like, even though you know what's happening the whole time, you don't get the normal you don't get like the normal arc or story arc or enough emotional depth to like really take you on the classic journey that is a movie that helps you get through it. So there are like stretches where you kind of zone out, and it's that way with almost every spoof. It's like it has to be so impossibly good to like, especially because so much of the comedy of it is so quick. And it's just, you know, one thing after the other slapstick shit that like it requires your complete focus and attention for an hour and a half, and that's a lot to ask of a viewer, I feel like. But I still love it. Like, I'm glad that it had been so long since I saw it, because there's some gold in there, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think I even wrote that down. What you were saying too is like it varies from dumb to brilliant very quickly.
Yes,
Like,
yeah. And I think it's just by nature of what it is. Like, it can't be genius nonstop for an hour and a half. That's impossible.
And it's like a numbers game with that type of humor too. It's like it's a joke a second, really. So it's like even if there's like a bad joke, there's another one right around the corner. So it's like even if it doesn't land, like another one's, so you kind of forget it immediately. But I thought about that too. I was like, there are some jokes that are so strong that they kind of like intersperse little jokes like throughout the scene, and I was like, it was almost like if they had confidence enough in like the really big funny jokes and just like left those out, like they would hit a little harder, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Like they would be that much funnier, like if they let them breathe a
yes
bit.
Agreed. Yeah, like what you said, it's like a joke a second, but it's a joke a second bouncing between physical comedy, between like environmental comedy, like referential comedy, to like it's a joke a second, but each joke is happening in a different medium, and it's just like it can get exhausting to your brain. But
it's a good way to put it. It's like very contextual, and it's like jumping between it's like kind of whiplash sometimes, but when it works, it really fucking works.
Yes, really when it works, it works.
Yeah, and I think like the first like 40 minutes is probably the strongest part of the movie.
Dude, I literally wrote that down exactly. First 40 minutes, really strong. I literally wrote that down. That's so funny you say that.
Yeah, because it's the setup and like all the cliche elements of those kinds of movies. And one of the things I wrote down too is like with movies like this, like I think its biggest strength is like it's obviously like parodying Top Gun, but the fact that it kind of has its own story and its own thing going on, and it's not like a play-by-play of Top Gun, that really works in its favor to really go after like genre cliches as opposed to just Top Gun. So it has like a wide range of things. It's like spoofing and not just like this one specific thing.
Yeah, and it almost has to. It has to, right? Well, it's like think about Walk Hard. Like that's what makes Walk Hard work. Like a spoof can't be that one thing the whole time, or you get it in the first 20 minutes and you're like, all right, if you don't absolutely 100% love it, why would you sit through the rest of the movie?
Yeah, but there were those rash of like spoof comedy movies that came out like in the late 2000s. You remember those like Meet the Spartans or like
I never saw Meet the Spartans.
It's terrible, but it's purely a ripoff of 300 and then other pop culture movies, but it's not about the cliches themselves. It's just referencing those scenes. Like, isn't it funny that we did this thing from the movie, but in a funny way? Like, it's so dumb and bad in comparison to something like this, which is actually for as dumb as it is and as dumb as some of the jokes are, it's like really, it's people that understand the medium and understand the cliches and all the tropes of it and poking fun at that, as opposed to just being like, hey, remember this scene? Isn't it stupid the way that we did this? It doesn't take like the easy bait to do that. So that's one of the things I really appreciated about it.
And that's a fine line, right? Like I think that's why spoofs are so hit or miss for so many people, is that it's so it's so everything about trying to pull off a successful spoof is so nuanced. And people think different things are funny, so it's so hard to like. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, very broad comedy with very specific humor is really it's a tightrope walk for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I this is just me, but I think Admiral what's his face totally steals the movie, as he should.
Lloyd Bridges' character.
Yeah, man, he's a master.
I lost my sense of smell on Little Bighorn or Okinawa, whichever one doesn't have the Indians in it.
Whichever one doesn't have the Indians. Dude, there were so many, and this is why, man, this is the type of movie that you can, like, it's hard to imagine right after watching it, like, sitting through the whole thing again, but it's like, if you know that if you do, you're gonna catch so much shit that your brain just didn't have enough hard drive space to catch the first time,
Yeah, it's almost one of those things that it benefits from having a pause button. Like,
Yes,
like if you're like sitting in the theater watching it, like so many jokes probably go over your head because they come at you so quickly. That I think I even texted you. I was like, I literally had to pause the movie every time I had to take a note because I was like, I know I'm gonna miss something if I pause the movie or if I don't pause the movie.
Yeah, and I think your viewing experience benefits from that in our particular scenario. And honestly, having subtitles was pretty helpful too, because it's like obviously, you know, they're the low budget aspects of this that it's funny, like the even just little nerdy like you could tell there were so many scenes where the film stock and like the color grading was just so lazy and just bad. Yeah. Like the lighting in some shots and like the sound effect, like, but it's all part of the charm and what I love about it. But even just like the sound design, like there were huge sound design issues where like I know if I hadn't had subtitles on, I would have absolutely missed a whole bunch of lines. Yeah, and I imagine in a theater that a lot of, but hey, there's nothing wrong with a little replay value, right?
Yeah, and that's true. Yeah, it's one of those things that like it makes the effort to come off looking like low effort, but there's so many like layered elements to it. Like there's like a lot of background gags and it's like a lot of things that you kind of have to think about for a second to really kind of get the humor in it.
Yeah,
and,
dude.
I don't know, but yeah, it's easy to write this off as like a dumb, stupid comedy, but I think that's kind of selling it short a little bit because there's a lot of craft to it. It's, it's like those cartoons too. It's like Family Guy. Like a lot of that humor is kind of built off of these types of movies like Airplane. And like you were saying, like it would benefit from being like in a TV show format. Like even Leslie Nielsen had who was in Airplane and a lot of these kinds of movies. He had a TV show called Police Squad, which was basically that. It was like spoof of like police procedural kind of shows like Law and Order or, I don't know, like Matlock, like detective police.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed that. I got to check that out.
I think it only ran for like a season like in the late 80s or early 90s or something, but it was like, it was exactly that. It was just a spoof comedy show of all those types of TV shows.
Yeah, and then you get Reno 911, which is the cops,
which is one of my favorite shows.
So good.
That's the best because it plays with like the newer format, like of like kind of like that Office brand of like
reality TV documentary style kind of shit.
Yeah. Well, it's a spoof of Cops, basically. Like it's like that's the whole gimmick of the show. But like even like early 2000 sitcoms, but with that improvisational kind of humor, it's great. I fucking love Reno 911.
Yeah, Reno's awesome. But yeah, I think all we can do is just, at least for the rest of this podcast, I think the best thing we can do is just hit up some of the highlights that we love. Like
absolutely.
I love that this thing started off as strong as it did, just in the opening shots, right? Like you got the guy grilling the hot dog on the jet engine. The first borderline comical thing that happens had me rolling. It's one of the first shots. It's like the two guys are carrying the missiles on the ship.
Yeah,
right.
They bump into each other.
Yeah, I was like, all right, like you got me sold in the first fucking 10 seconds of the movie.
Yeah, I even love the little gag when they like flip the plane upside down and all their shit, like playing cards and shit, just falls on the ceiling of the plane. It's so good. It's just like a funny little like thing, like a Top Gun, like all their shit just flies. It's great.
Yeah. Then, what were some of the first things you took down?
With the crash sequence when the guy flies out of the helicopter or the plane and lands into like the bushes, like that whole extended falling sequence.
The mailman.
The mailman, and he lands in the forest with the branches coming out of his helmet like deer antlers, and it's like deer season or something. It's like straight out of Looney Tunes, like
you gotta fucking love it. Don't they get back into the or they get back into boot camp or whatever, and they're all realize what's his face?
They all know each other somehow.
They all know each other. Well, yeah, his dad was the hunter. The fucking what's his name? Not Washout. Yeah,
Washout. Yeah, that's right.
His dad is the hunter, and he's got the family photo, and it's like the fucking mailman's head on the wall. He's like, I didn't have seconds, I swear.
Yeah, he's like, why are you mad at me? He's the one who ate your father.
It was so good.
I love that joke too. It's not like I accidentally killed your father, but we also ate.
Yeah, we also ate him.
And put your dad's head on the wall like in a family photo. It's so dumb, but it's so funny. Yeah, that was one of the first big laughs I had when they play on that cliche. It's like, oh, your father knew my father. It's like, oh wait, your father, my father shot your father. And it's like, wait, aren't you from Dearborn? And then everybody's like, yo, of course.
Oh god, yeah, yeah. Carrie, how do you say Eloise? Is that his name? Eloise?
I think, but then I saw it in the credits. I was like, oh, that is Eloise, or like, yeah, I don't know how you pronounce that. That's what I always thought it was, but maybe not.
I don't either, but he was awesome.
Yeah, he's great.
Great Iceman clone.
Yeah, he's basically doing the Iceman role, and I love that he's just like, he's like the guy who's with the lady the whole time, and he's
Ramada,
but he's just so unappealing to her the whole time. Like I love the last scene of the movie. He's like, he's up there waiting for you. He's like, you have to forget about me. She's like, okay.
Yeah, don't turn around, don't look back.
Please, not a tear. There's my brave girl.
Yeah, he was so lovable.
Yeah, he's great.
Also, this movie has one of my favorite lines of all time, and I don't know if this was pulling from another movie, but your ego is writing checks your body can't cash. Like, I'm gonna start saying that all the fucking time. What his drill sergeant yells at him or whatever.
Yeah. And I love that they're like in Top Gun training, but they're like back in drill school also.
Yes, yeah, dude. Like, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, what are they doing here? It's like,
they're just
we got a Full Metal Jacket for some reason.
Yeah, we got to shoehorn in all these like drill instructor jokes that we have.
Yeah, they were ready. They were ready for him.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Okay, I gotta point out. So I think possibly my favorite. It's so hard because there's so much great shit, and so much that I didn't write down because I was like, I can't pause this every 10 seconds. But
yeah, exactly.
But there's a scene, one of the first scenes with the Admiral and Block or whatever his name is. And it's like Block is telling him all their battle plans or whatever, and the Admiral's like, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. I have a shell the size of a fist in my head, but he's like, do I like soup or duck? Which one do I shoot? And soup, whatever. And while he's talking and trying to figure this out, you can see through the window behind him that there's like a troop doing clearly supposed to be doing like exercises outside. They're doing like showgirl dances and like high kicks and shit. I was like,
they're doing like the amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's little details like that. It's like, I think it's like a dumb joke, but like the way that they choreographed it with like the window in the background, like perfectly in frame. It's like, it's like a complicated thing to pull off, like in a filmmaking sense. Because maybe they had green screen, I don't know, but I mean, like, still, like it looked pretty legit in the movie.
Yeah, it looked great. I mean, and you got Topper with paternal conflict syndrome, which is a really big deal. PCS.
Yeah, PCS. Yeah, which is like just daddy issues or something like that. Yeah, and I think a big part of why the movie works is that the actors in it are known for like dramatic stuff. Like Charlie Sheen at the time was like a big star. Like he had been in Platoon, which won Best Picture like in the mid 80s or something like that. And then he was in Wall Street right after that. So he was like a big, like bankable star. And for him to go off of that and do like this, spoof comedy was like at the time, like it was a big deal because like people that were trying to be dramatic actors, like taking a left turn like that was pretty unprecedented. So you're kind of like career suicide, like if it doesn't work out. And but it was a large part of why the movie worked, because he was like a big star, and he was able to, you know, bring that charisma to it. But also because, like, if you played those lines comedically, like, it doesn't work. Like, you have to have like a dramatic element to make them work. It's like that irony that makes it funny. Right.
Yeah, and clearly, I mean, I think it was a success. I think. As far as spoofs go, and like the fact that you knew the movies before I even said anything about them, and you swear you had not seen this. You haven't seen either of these.
No, I'm just familiar with like the posters, really, and I've seen like part deux on TV once, because I remember a scene where they're like walking through the woods, and he's like in his full Rambo outfit, and then like the chicken with the like the bow and arrow thing. Like, I remember that. I was not familiar with this movie at all. I'd never seen it before.
That's awesome. I'm so happy I got to. And see, that's the thing. It's so difficult for me to find stuff that was in any way culturally relevant that you haven't seen. So it has to be a stupid fucking spoof like this. I'm so glad I pulled this off.
You know, it's funny too, because so like Carrie Eloise is like playing the Iceman part. But I thought it was funny because Val Kilmer was in one of these kinds of movies in like the mid 80s. It was a movie called Top Secret, which I think came out before this one. And it's basically like the same thing, but it's like doing like espionage in like World War II or something like that. But it's like the same kind of humor, like a gag a minute kind of stuff.
Gag a minute. That needs to be a genre if it's not already. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of a lost art form too. I can't really think of like any comedy that, I think it's like too broad for audiences now. Like, people don't respond to that type of humor anymore, but it still works like when it's done correctly, I think.
I mean, but we had like Tropic Thunder, right? Which is probably the closest thing. But even that was a little more. Yeah, I mean, like, how would you even compare a movie like Tropic Thunder to this? It's like
there's
it's not the same
like,
type of spoof. There are similar elements, but it's interesting.
There's more of like a grounded element to it. Like, there's all this crazy, but like it's outlandish because of everybody's personalities going off the rails. Not so much like wacky, zany stuff going on.
Right.
It's just all personality based, so it's a little different in that regard. And like the jokes are coming from character, and not so much like, insane jokes just being thrown at you every second.
Yeah, dude, Gag a Minute. I love that, Gag a Minute. It sounds like that would be a name of one of dude. And I had to write all these down because I could not get over it. The call signs of all of the enemy pilots that they go up against. Did you pay attention to all of their call signs?
One of them was hummus, I think. That was the one I saw.
So I wrote every single one of them down.
Or some of the other ones.
Hold on. What did I do with it? Yeah. Okay, so here are all of the enemy pilot call signs that you see. Baklava, hummus, couscous, kebab, and taboo.
Yeah, of course.
I just couldn't believe it, dude. And it's so funny because did you watch this with subtitles on?
Yeah, I did.
So, did you notice when they started talking, it was like Arabic nonsense?
Yeah, Arabic nonsense. Yeah, which I thought was funny. And it was funny too because I was keeping track of like all the like cliches that they were poking fun at, and this was a funny thing that I noticed, and I was curious what you thought about this, because like the purpose of parody is to like poke fun at like elements that get overused traditionally, and making fun of like those as tropes, and are like, and in a way it kind of makes those things obsolete. So if you like see them in a movie, they like oh, it's like phony Hollywood stuff kind of thing. And it's kind of like what Weird Al did for like pop music. Like, he would take really popular songs and poke fun at like all their like the things that make them like everything else in pop music kind of thing.
Right.
So like parody has that power of kind of changing, I don't know, like industry norms, like what's like still acceptable to do in a way, just using humor to kind of move things along. But I was fascinated because like a lot of the cliches they make fun of are still kind of relevant. Because even like Top Gun Maverick like uses a lot of those same cliches that were in the first Top Gun movie, and it's like that movie's over 40 years old now, or almost 40 years old.
Right, and you get it. Like, it's a fine line. You want to evoke the same feelings that made people love the original movie, but you have to lean into the cliches to do that. And it's like, you might be sacrificing some of the audience that are, that it's obvious that the cliches are obvious to them and that have, seen movies like Hot Shots, and you're sacrificing losing their respect to give people the nostalgia that they want, right?
Yeah, and I can't blame them too hard, because like making a big budget movie like that, like people have to know exactly what's going on at every second in order to like, retain things sometimes. So there's an element of that that's forgivable when it's done well. So like if they use cliches, that's okay as long as it's done well. There's like a craft to it, I guess. But it still doesn't detract from the fact that cliches like that still get used pretty rampantly, albeit like in different ways. But there's still a big part of that screenwriters or creative people can't get away from. It's just interesting. Like some things don't change that much.
Yeah, man. Roger that, Milli Vanilli Chili Willy.
Yeah, I wrote that down too. What was their operation name? Like Sleepy Weasel or something like that?
I think it was Sleepy Weasel.
Yeah. It's just great. Yeah, I loved all the random nonsense that they called in to the radio.
It's like, it would be funny if I was 12, and it's funny now, and that's why it's a good spoof. And maybe that goes to your point of the fact that so many of these cliches are still active. Yeah,
just some you can't really get away from. They just like tried and true, and they always work, and people respond to them, and that's so you can make money off of them. They still work.
Yeah, dude. Oh, but, dude, I gotta point one specific thing out that I just could not let go. So during the bar fight scene in the piano lounge, after Ramada does her whole song, remember that, where she
her
steps
whole like
on his
Jessica
hand?
Rabbit sexy singing number.
Yeah, dude, I love when she reaches for the drink and the vocals keep happening. Do you remember that little?
The little like lip syncing.
Yeah, it had me. But so when it devolves into after Topper and what's Iceman's call sign? I can't remember what his name is.
Oh, I can't even remember what.
But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. But
like
they
Kent,
have one of their. Oh yeah, Kent. Gregory Kent. Yeah.
It's the most boring name. It's easily forgettable.
Yeah, I can't believe they didn't give him some kind of funny like Iceman nod call sign, like
they made him the most milquetoast military dude humanly possible.
Yeah, I know, but anyway, so they're having their first like no you fucking 5-year-old argument or whatever, right? And
you're acting like children. No you.
No you times 10. But yeah, so it descends into the bar fight for like a second, and right before Ramada breaks it up, there's this cut to Charles Barkley and Bill Lambier fighting.
Yes,
for like a split second.
I wrote that down because I was like, "Whoa, that's the most random cameo to throw in for 1 second."
Dude, it was so bizarre, and I kept thinking, I was like, "There's no way they don't cut back to this." I was like, "There's no way they don't make it more of a moment," and I just could not believe that they got Charles Barkley and Bill Lambier to do that. For that, like, you're gonna have 1 second in this movie, like.
But I mean, 91. That was probably before they were like world famous, right?
No, I mean Charles Barkley. Yeah, Barkley was an all-star at the time. Like he was.
I mean, they were
huge.
They were huge, but they weren't like legends at the time. Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
like in terms
yes,
of like
but
entertainment.
that'd be
level.
like it'd be like putting LeBron James and Steph Curry in a movie right now. Like that was the level of like NBA fame that they were at. And Charles Barkley and Bill Laimbeer had this like epic rivalry where they would nearly come to blows in games all the time because Bill Laimbeer was just a fucking asshole on the court. Like he was ridiculous.
He'd like
There's a
punch
documentary about
people
him
in the face, right? Like
yeah,
he was like that.
He was nuts, and he did it just to get into people's heads. But you know, the NBA was a different era, man. Like it was such a fucking more physical game back then. Like
it was a Wild West. Like
yeah, dude. Like the fouls. I mean, the fouls were insane. Like the shit that the refs would let guys get away with. It was crazy. And there's a reason. Like it was like having big, tall, like powerful centers was such an important part of the game back then because you needed guys that could overpower defense in the lane because nothing would ever get called. Like they had to win physical battles in there. But the state of the league now, it's like everybody just wants speed and 3-point shooting because you know they're gonna. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
It was a fucking insane cameo.
Well, yeah. Sorry, back to the basketball thing for just 1 second because I'm fascinated by this now because people always talk about like Jordan too. It's like, you know, being like, you know, not as big of a scorer, but like I think that's like an interesting point. Like the league was different back then. Like I'm sure if he wanted to with like the rules now, he could have scored just as much as anybody. But it was like you said, it was such a physical game. Like people got fucked up. In the early 90s.
That's why all the goat conversations, and it's this way in almost every major American sport. It's like you really have to break up goats by era because it's just such a different game. I mean, like think about how much baseball's changed in the last few years. Like even the rules. Oh yeah. Like that's the other thing too. Something, you know, I'm such a college football junkie. Like there's this whole notion in college football and even in the NFL about being 1,000-yard receiver. That's sort of like the gold standard as a receiver. Like a guy that you know is going to make it to the league or a guy that's going to do well in the league is like if he's averaging 1,000 yards a season, that's like, you know, that's cream of the crop. But the new rule changes in college football. It's something simple. It's like the clock doesn't stop after first downs anymore, right? They're trying to shorten the games. And so that wildly affects statistics, like season statistics. Like a receiver that used to be 1,000-yard receiver is much more likely to be like a 700-800-yard receiver because there's so many less downs. Like there's so many less plays in a game now than there were 5 years ago. And so it's like, how can you really compare goats of different eras when like the rules change and like you just can't. So just going to your argument. It's like you have to split up the NBA into eras and pick goats from each era.
And I always get so annoyed when people like do that too. It's like, oh, who would kick whose ass? It's like I get the whole competition of the thing, but it's like such arbitrary terms. Like it doesn't even make sense when you like try to break it down like that.
Yeah.
Like it's just not. Yeah, like you said, it's just you know, it just is what it is, and like this over emphasis on competition is just so really unhealthy.
Yeah, it's like, well, you got to think. It's really this simple. You have to adjust for inflation. It's like you can if you just look at statistics, like you look at total points scored or whatever, like you got to adjust for inflation. Like, you know, what were offenses like at the time? What were defenses like? Well, you know, it's stupid shit. But yeah, those arguments are dumb.
Everything with a grain of salt. Anyway, back to Hot Shots.
Yes, back to Hot Shots. But I love that fucking. It was so random. I can't believe they got them both to do that for a split second. It's just crazy.
Yeah, they were like, well, it's like how much you charge per second. It's like, well, we'll pay you that. Well, whatever you're worth per second of footage. Which is funny because I think Bill Laimbeer is pretty obscured, so you just see Charles Barkley's face for a second.
Yeah.
I don't even see, because I wasn't even sure if Bill Laimbeer was in it, because I don't even remember seeing his face. Like I wasn't sure if it was just some other dude.
No, yeah, and to be fair, you know what? It's funny you say that. It was so fast. I'm pretty sure you see Charles Barkley's face. You definitely get Barkley on the back of his jersey. And it's like, I just know because of NBA lore that it's Bill Laimbeer that he's fighting, but there's a chance that it wasn't even him. Like it happened, so I'd have to go back and look. It could have just been a guy that looked like him. There's no way to know.
Yeah, because I didn't even check the credits, and Because I don't even know. I mean, because of the fact that they're rivals too. I was like, I'm sure they probably wouldn't want to like cozy up to be in a movie together for even a second.
They might have had fun with. That's the thing though. Like I remember hearing stuff about Lambeer. Like even other NBA players would talk about how frustrating it is that he was actually a really fun guy to hang out with off the court, but on the court he just turned into a complete fucking asshole. So there's a chance that they were like friends off the court. You know, the way that Bird and Johnson were.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's like that competition thing. Like they have to find a way to ignite it a bit.
Yeah, rivalries sell. But anyway, Nurse, check his penis. Is it longer than mine?
That was my favorite scene of the movie. the doctor. Yeah, it caught me so off guard. I was just like, I wasn't expecting it. Those are some of the best jokes when I have no idea that they're coming.
Yeah,
and they're so left field. It's just it's brilliant writing.
I mean, I know I've missed so many awesome lines. Were there any like okay? So because in my notes, that's kind of where I'm at already. Is all the way there at that scene. Was there anything before that stood out at you that you would love to add to the podcast forever?
I do love the beginning when he comes and finds Charlie Sheen in his little teepee, like out in the woods. And I love the little joke about him going up to the front and just ringing the doorbell on the teepee. Like, that was great.
And you can hear him, like, opening all the latches or whatever before he comes out.
Yeah. Just stupid. And then he comes out, he's like, I'm retired now, which doesn't make any sense for the context of it. And he's like, that's not my name anymore. I go by Tuca Chinchilla. And he's like, what does that mean? He's like, fluffy bunny feet. And he's wearing fluffy bunny slippers. It tickled me.
It's a tickler. They're all ticklers.
Yeah. And then and it too, like when he's doing that that thing when he sees Ramada for the first time riding the horse. And
dude, classic hot shot scene.
Yeah, he starts doing the wheelie while she's like riding the horse like on the back legs kind of thing, which is really funny. But that was a funny thing too, is like a lot of the best premises for the movie are like premises that could like be in an actual movie like that, and like poking fun of that. So it's like it's like turned up to 11, like they make it so insane. But like that whole premise of them, like she being on a horse and him being on a motorcycle and then like, you know, like squaring up, that could totally be a scene in a Top Gun kind of movie.
Absolutely.
Like played straight. Yeah, which I just thought was great.
And I hope that the stunt doubles they were involved in this movie got paid more than the A-listers, because, dude, some of the stunts in this thing were fucking insane. Like,
yeah.
The biker guy that was his stunt double pulled off some badass shit. Yeah.
Oh, and then the scene with the ambulance later on when they're taking Dead Meat away. It's just going insane.
Dead Meat's arc was so great. That whole scene when he's walking up to the plane and the black cat, the wife dropping the mirror out of her purse. Then walking underneath the ladder. Yes, like, dude.
I found JFK's assassination, looking for the last piece of the... She's like, I'll give it to you when I get back. Or she's like, I have this life insurance policy. It's like, oh, I'm just going up in a plane, the safest aircraft known to man.
Yeah, I'll sign it when I get back.
Yeah, it's so good. But I thought it was funny, the actor that played Dead Meat reminded me a lot of the guy that played Plop in The Office.
Dude, I was thinking the same fucking thing. I remember thinking, it's like, is there any chance that he's his father? Like, I want to look it up. Similar.
Yeah, and I was struck by the resemblance.
I have to do it. I have to do it right now. What's his name? Wash out Dead Meat. William O'Leary.
William O'Leary.
Hold on.
And then
William O'Leary. He's best known for playing Marty Taylor on Home Improvement.
Okay. Marty Taylor. I've watched a lot of Home Improvement as a kid. Can't remember.
Man, William O'Leary. Well, his name's William O'Leary. Let me just see. Pete Miller is from. Yeah, I don't think there's any relation. It's just a coincidence. They look exactly like each other. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. And there's this quote I love when I think Kent confronts Ramada at the club one night, and she's like, "No, I have to go back home." He's like, "It's not another woman, is it? I just couldn't compete with that." I just like fucking. It's it's so good. Man. I think the line that killed me the most. This is like another example of like something that could totally be like a line in one of these kinds of movies. But it's when Charlie Sheen goes back to Ramada's apartment and like they're about to, sleep together for the first time. And he's like, it seems like you've been around the block once or twice. She's like, I'm a virgin. I'm just not very good at it. I was like, that's just so fucking...
It's so good, dude. It's so good. I hope that, and not even just funny as in like spoof movie funny. Like that's just a great line in any movie.
Yeah, that's just hilarious. Yeah, it got me really good.
Dude, yeah, that whole scene was fucking epic with all the shit. Did you notice how much food was in the fridge? It was like an entire produce section. It was like every fruit and vegetable you could imagine in that left side of the fridge.
Yeah. Yeah, and too when he's like cooking the eggs and bacon on her stomach and stuff. It was just I was still like, how are they getting that shot? And I mean, like, it's not really like, you can tell it's like not cooking, but it's like enough to where your disbelief is suspended for a second.
Yeah, you buy it. Yeah, when they added the hash browns, I fucking lost it. When he added the hash browns, it was so good.
It was so good.
Oh, there was a piece of trivia related to that. Hold on, I gotta hop over here. There was oh shit, my shit's not loading. Hold on. Okay, it was So yeah, Valerie Galino claims that the scene in which she catches the olive popping out of her belly button was accomplished without any sort of trick photography. Like they just pulled it off.
Dang, that's crazy. It's one of those scenes that takes 100 takes to actually film.
Yeah, dude. Oh, and hey, did you catch this? I caught this without reading this. Charlie Sheen says right before one of the big plane fight sequences is right before he does that crazy spin move in the air. He's like, I learned this one from Paula Abdul, who was married to Emilio Estevez at the time of this movie's release. Charlie Sheen's brother. So I thought that was a cool little thing in there.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, I did not know that. That's funny. It's like a little in-joke.
Yeah, gotta love it. Oh, no, yeah, cameo. It really was Charles Barkley and Bill Lambier. That's awesome.
Damn, yeah, well, good for them. Yeah, that's awesome. It's kind of like, it's like blink and you miss them kind of thing. That's so good.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I noticed this too. So they call Charlie Sheen Topper the whole movie, right?
Yeah.
But you actually see his first name on his ID badge in Ramada's office, and his name is Sean Hurley, which cracked me up because Sean Hurley founded Twitter. It's just a nice little random. Oh yeah. Random little thing there.
Yeah.
Just the same name, no relation.
This sucks because one of my favorite scenes was the psychiatrist scene, like towards the beginning of the movie, where she writes. But I was laughing so much through it, I didn't write down anything from that scene, so I don't remember anything about what happens in that scene. But I remember that being great. And she's like, "Oh no, be careful out there," when he's about to go in the hallway and all the exposed wires are out there.
Dude, yeah, that was such a random... There's so much little random fast shit like that you forget as soon as it happens, and it's like just the amount of effort. It's just awesome.
Yeah, or when she's psychoanalyzing him with the PCS, or paternal condition syndrome, or whatever.
She gives him his diagnosis.
And there's like those little like slow zooms on his face as he's like tensing up, and like it's just... like I don't know, great. Like,
yeah, he rips the arms off the chair.
Yeah, It's just funny. It just, yeah, I don't know, just like another example of like an element of that still gets used today, where she's like basically giving the whole exposition of his backstory, and he's like, I can't talk about that. Or like even John Cryer's like, he's so complex, as he's like walking to the plane, just like plainly stating. It's just,
oh, dude,
it's just great. There's so many funny little nuggets of stuff in this movie.
Oh, dude, hey, going back to your scene at the beginning in the teepee. So this is crazy. I picked up on a little bit of this, but I didn't realize the connection. So during the helium peace pipe scene, right, where they're smoking the helium out of the peace pipe, out of the balloons, which is fucking hilarious. Most of the dialogue, most of like the fake Native American dialogue, they're just naming cities and towns in Minnesota. Like Owatonna, Mendota, Arona. They're all just places in Minnesota.
Yeah, that sounds like Northern America, Canada kind of towns. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and you know what? I gotta give Charlie Sheen props, because to me, and I know he's had like his controversies and like, you know, whatever in the past, but honestly, I think he's a really good actor. And everything I've seen him in, like, he's not the best, like he's like good at being the lead in a movie. Like, he's great at being a star, like whether he's in Platoon or Hot Shots. Like, he has that presence and charisma that's like really good. Like, it's like hard to find in like a leading man kind of role. So I give him props for that. Yeah,
he killed it. Oh, yeah. Wow, this is a random little piece of trivia. So there's Lloyd Bridges, he has a line where he's referring to, this is Admiral Benson, he refers to a fellow that he used to scuba with. It's like a really quick line, but apparently it was a reference to, in the late 50s and early 60s, he was best known as the star of a scuba diving detective series called Sea Hunt. So it was like a reference to that. See, it's just the level of detail with some of this shit, man.
Yeah, he had some of my favorite moments. Like he's basically like what Leslie Nielsen would become, like in those kinds of roles. Like it was like the template of Lloyd Bridges in these movies.
Fucking crazy.
And you know who's daddy? I mean, it kind of gives it away whose daddy is, but. Do you know?
Wait, say what?
Do you know who Lloyd Bridges, who his son is, I guess?
Wait, is it Jeff?
It's Jeff, yeah. That's
no way.
Jeff Bridges'
I didn't
dad.
know that.
Yeah, Lloyd Bridges is his dad.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, little bit of info for you.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, Lloyd Bridges was one of those, like, even with Charlie Sheen, like, Martin Sheen was, like, a guy that had been in the industry for a long time, and his brother and him, like, Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen were just, like, they were, like, those generational, like, you know, father-son actors that were just, you know, they just happened to be really successful also. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, pretty awesome shit. You know what we're gonna have to do? We're gonna have to do a follow-up episode where we watch part 2.
Yeah, I feel like that's coming next, because I know that there's more references to like Vietnam stuff, which I think will be fun. Because I think Charlie Sheen and Martin Sheen were in like 2 of the greatest Vietnam War movies ever, which is Apocalypse Now and Platoon. So I'm sure there are tons of references in that. Yeah,
that would be that one's gonna be a romp.
Yeah, there's so much shtick in this movie. It's just it's overwhelming.
Yeah, and I was worried. That's the thing too. It's like we can wrap it up whenever, because I know we could spend a fucking million hours just going through every fucking joke.
Yeah, I do love this scene at Dead Meat's funeral where Lloyd Bridges is talking about. He's like, they took dead meat from us, as well as Mo Green and Talia and Barzini and all the heads of the 5 families. He's just talking about The Godfather. Just
Dude, it's
for
so
no
fucking-
reason.
For so random. Like,
Totally unprompted, makes no sense, but I appreciated the stupid reference. It's so good. Oh, man.
yeah, he's fucking unhinged. There was a little detail I noticed in that scene too. It's just a random stupid shit. But like when he first pulls his gun out, you know, when they do the 21 gun salute and he thinks they're under attack. When he first pulls his gun out, it's like a little revolver. And when he gets behind the grave, when he opens up the gravestone, he's like, and he actually starts shooting back at them. It's a completely different gun. It's like a
it's like a 1911 or something.
Yeah, it's just a random little dude. Like, how did that even happen in the shooting process? Like, was it an intentional choice to switch guns, or they just like didn't give a shit what the props were, and like they didn't have that one on that particular shot? It's like it just doesn't even matter. But it's shit like that. It's so good.
I feel like it had to be like those little continuity errors. It's like somebody will catch this.
Oh, dude. So, did you catch the Humphrey Bogart? Like, when they're flying around, and it happens so fast, but I think it's like blocks. Like, oh, I got a bogey at 12 o'clock, and it just cuts, and it's just like a Humphrey Bogart impersonator in the cockpit for 2 seconds. It's like, oh god,
yeah, with his trench
me.
coat and everything. Yeah, for no fucking reason either. It's just it's a great throwaway joke. But yeah, and even with like the little bits of like they make fun of at the end when they don't know if Topper makes it back or not. Like that little bit of like, you know, quote unquote tension about like did he make it or not. Like even like a couple years later they use that in Apollo 13 with like did they make it back alive? And like it goes like gray for a second. It's like the eagle has landed, like when they like land in the ocean. Like it's just, or even with the eyes he carries around his father's eyes in his pocket.
You have his eyes.
You have his eyes, and then he pulls out his father's eyes.
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb.
Dude, I love that the ship was called the SSSS. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did.
The SS, ESS, ESS.
ESS, yeah. It's so good. But yeah, even that scene when he throws the eyes, like that's the end of Titanic. Like all those stupid little cliches that they're making fun of way before those movies came out, and they still get used. It's just funny. Funny, man. Fucking
it's
hilarious.
A good spoof. It's a good spoof.
Good spoof. Yeah, I mean, truly, that's a mark of a good spoof when they're poking fun at things that still are relevant, like 20 or 30 years later. So, gotta give them props. Knew what they were doing with this movie.
Props, well done. And big fan of a lot of the props too. Like I love in the welcoming scene. They have there's the big banner, and the banner says "Welcome Home" banner.
Yeah,
it's a little shit like that for me, you know.
Or even the billboard with the smoking on it.
Oh yeah, that he flies through.
Yeah, what does it say? It's like smoke. Nobody lives forever.
Yeah, nobody lives forever. Smoke today.
Just the fact that somebody had to come up with that, write that for like a second long gag that most people wouldn't see or remember.
Yeah. The effort. It's got to be so much more difficult and time consuming to write a full movie like this where you're trying to do that gag a minute shit. It's like, it had to be exhausting to make.
Yeah. The movie's like an hour and a half, and there were probably over 500 gags in this movie. Like, without a doubt. Like, they happen so quickly. And yeah, that's like the replay value of it too. Like, and to make that in the I mean, like, I think VHS was, you know, becoming like a big thing at the time. So they were probably like, people watch this over and over again and like catch all these little things. So,
yeah, value for your money.
Effort. Yeah. And then, you know, Saddam Hussein catching the bomb at the end is fucking, you know, icing on the cake.
I got missiles on my tail.
Missiles on my tail. Oh yeah, and he has to improvise because their guns like get caught or they get cut before the. And he's like, yeah, it's like a whole Looney Tunes kind of improvising. Makes them like crash into each other.
It was very Looney Tunes.
Or he's like, oh, thank God for cloud cover, and then they fly into the mountains right after.
Yeah.
Just so dumb. Very okay. Well, that's Hot Shots. I guess we got to give it a score now. That's Hot Shots.
let's give it to her. What do you got?
You know, I mean, like, I'll go with a solid. I only had a drink the whole time, so I'd say like 2. I could have probably done 2 if I was watching this by myself. I enjoyed myself thoroughly, I think.
Nice. That's a quality rating.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's
forget
dumb,
what is,
but
it's dumb, but it's doing what it's doing the right way.
yeah, if like you're going in like I'm gonna watch a dumb comedy, I think it's like you're pleasantly surprised how funny and actually like intelligently written some of the jokes are.
Yeah, agreed. Because what's our scale? 1 to 5 beers? Is that our scale?
Yeah, 1 to 5. 1 to 5.
Yeah. Okay, I'm kind of with you. I'd give it a solid 2.5. Would get you right over the edge, make it that much more enjoyable.
Yeah, it's not perfect. I mean, like, there's almost too many jokes. I think is like my only real gripe with the movie. It's like there's just almost too much going on.
Yeah, and it's so hard to get it just right. Like as good as Walk Hard was, right? Like there are moments of stall in that movie. There are stretches where it's impossible to make a perfect spoof. But this is up there, I think, for one of the best, at least of that era.
Yeah, and to me, I think Walk Hard is the only one that really comes close to being like a perfect, like, parody spoof. I mean, you can go to Spinal Tap. I think is like the classic of classics because it plays it so grounded that when like all those crazy elements happen, like it feels more real, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think there was a thing with Spinal Tap when it came out too. They actually thought it was a real rock band. Like people were convinced that it was
such a
real.
good spoof.
Yeah, but it was like that documentary style, and like these people were like so outrageous, and it seemed legit enough.
Yeah,
but,
I'd agree with you. I think Walk Hard is as close as it's come. Well, especially for music spoofs, that's about as close to perfect as you can get.
Yeah, it's like that, and this is Spinal Tap are the 2 top contenders for me, and because the music's great in both those movies.
Yeah,
this is a big part for me.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching Hot Shots with us, our audience members who we love so much. We're so grateful to wherever you all are, if there are any of you.
Yeah, I'm sure this will set the algorithm on fire.
Oh yeah, baby! I swear. Eventually, I'll move away from movies from my childhood. I'll run out eventually.
No, I enjoyed this thoroughly. You know what? I think our SEO will be good with Band of Brothers, though. You know? I mean, a lot of people are rewatching Band of Brothers.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Lila, no. Well, okay, that's a sign. All right, this has been One Guy's Seen It. My name is Jeff.
My name is Sumner.
And remember,
every movie's better with at least 1 beer.
One beer. One.
Every movie's better with at least lamb beer.
Dude, that reminds me. I forgot that in my initial draft of the One Guy's Seen It song, I really wanted to end it with, like, in Trivia Murder, or not Trivia Murder Party, but Jackbox.
Jackbox.
You don't know Jack. The little song for one where it's like one. I wanted the end of One Guy's Seen It to be like one guy. I really wanted to do that, and I kind of forgot to do it, so I might have to redraft up the song.
There's still time. Yeah, we can always produce the theme song more.
Yeah, maybe we'll have like 10 different versions in different genres. I mean, I don't even know what genre it is right now. I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, we're still in like the beginning indie stages when people are like, "Oh, that's what it used to sound like."
Yeah.
So
we're like. Well, anyways, I guess we should end the podcast now.
Nah, we can just see how long we can stretch this.
Sumner, your ego is writing checks your body can't cash.
Yeah, that's always been my problem. Just too complex.
He's so complex.
He's so complex. I didn't even talk about John Cryer. I loved his whole thing.
Oh, yeah, he was fucking awesome.
With his whole site issues, and then
Yeah, what was it called? Wall camera syndrome or something? What did they call it? Like,
yeah, and then when people walk up to him, it's like that crazy fisheye lens. Like, are you okay? It's like,
yeah, dude, I was laughing way harder than I should have been during that first scene with that camera angle.
Yeah, it was great. It was very unexpected.
Yeah, he was awesome. Okay, now the podcast is over. Now it's officially over.
It's over when we say it's over.
We love talking to each other so much. We do run this show. Nobody can tell, especially if we're just shouting into the void. The void has no control over us.
Yeah, we don't have producers like those fancy podcasts that people listen to.
Yeah, maybe one day.
Yeah, never. I'll never bow to no producer.
I should just cut, like, in the middle of this conversation, just cut the song on. Like our
we're talking
producer.
over the song as it's playing.
One guy's seen it.
Dude, I'll do it. I don't even care.
Hasn't. First guy's gonna tell the second guy all about it.
One guy's in.
Why they both
All right, I'm
get
hitting stop.
Okay.